Type in your contribution and name, then send it to 7197. Your views, our interviews on Spectrum, Radio 1 FM 90.
Hello, a very warm welcome. This is Spectrum on Radio 1. I'm your host, Edmond Kizito. On Spectrum tonight, the persistent poor economic situation in Uganda. How can we revamp the economy and make it sustainable? The Ugandan economy continues to experience severe shocks, with the latest indicators showing that the situation is not only impacting on the standard of living, but also the viability of doing business. The situation, characterized by a high inflation currently standing at 28%, high interest rates, a shortage of key commodities, high prices, a weakened shilling, among other challenges, is persisting despite several interventions by Bank of Uganda. The private sector, which is the mainstay of the Ugandan economy, is warning that the Ugandan economy may go into recess as small businesses, which are the backbone of the economy, are no longer able to borrow to sustain operations. Reports indicate that the current economic situation has already begun having a negative impact on businesses, with many small ones actually closing shop. Government has indicated that there's no economic crisis in this country, with President Museveni insisting that the current challenges can be transformed into opportunities via increased production. Experts are, however, indicating that there is a need to put in place measures that will spur the economy to recover in both the short and long run. This, they say, will require tweaking government sector priorities to shift to those that can facilitate quick growth. So tonight we ask, how can we deal with this situation and ensure that the achievements made are not destroyed? Also, how can we revamp the economy and make it sustainable? We will also try to find out whether there are any best practices within the region or elsewhere that Uganda can borrow to address this situation. Our guests tonight, Honorable William Oketcho, former West Budama MP who chaired the budget committee during his time. He's also currently chairman of the Ghana-based Africa Parliamentary Poverty Reduction Network based in Accra, Ghana. You're most welcome, Honorable Oketcho.
Thank you very much, Edmond.
We also have
all the callers.
Mr. Erastus Nsubuga, Chief Executive Officer of Agro-Genetic Technology, formerly of Celtel, I believe.
Celtel.
That's the precursor, the forerunner of Airtel, the current Airtel. You're most welcome, Mr. Nsubuga.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me.
Let's start by looking at the roots of this. How did we get here? Mr. Honorable Oketcho, first of all.
Yeah, Edmond, the last time I was here, we examined the reasons or the origin of all the problems that we're going through.
Yes.
And it centered on the supply side of the economy. That the items that we normally would rely on to live were very much in short supply. Fuel, food, and so on. This has increased. So really, the problem is still the same, that we are not in a position to meet the demands that we have. People are looking for all kinds of ways of, making ends meet. And government policies, government attempts to kind of curtail all these problems don't seem to be working. Of course, the president, for example, has the idea that we should increase production so that we could sort out the supply side constraints. But when you look at what the Bank of Uganda is saying, let's increase the CBR, let's increase the interest rate, let's cut down on the money supply, and so on. But all these tend to work contrary to what the president's aspirations are. So sincerely, there must be a means of getting all these policies kind of streamlined so that we're in a position to solve the problem now. I think that's really the issue.
All right. Of course, we'll get deeper into that to see what should come first, the macro, growth is also macro, but we'll try to see how we create a balance, because the macroeconomics need to be stabilized, inflation manageable, and so on. Mr. Nsubuga, would you agree with that assessment, or what is your assessment? How did you get here?
Thank you. And my assessment would be regarding the economy today is that it's very serious. It seems to be very serious. Not because we are lacking the brains or the knowledge of how to get out of it, but the implementation of whatever we talk about is to me the most disappointing. Because if you read now, for example, the National Development Plan, I can say it's one of the best you could find in the region. But how much are we implementing each of whatever is there is a big question mark. And there's a lot of programs like universities, education today, to just to speed up the, for example, the most of the young ones for the education and jobs. Everything is in place, but when to get on the final line, things seems not to be working. For me, I think that's the major things. I may not go into details of each of those, but that's my most disappointment, that we seem to sit, we seem always to talk, we seem to know what we want, even to get out of this crisis. You see, people sit and talk, all these workshops and everything, you sit in them, and there is no results. To me, that's the most disappointing.
So our problem, basically, the troubles of the economy is the politics.
The troubles of the economy is the politics. To me, it seems so.
I think the issue really is that whatever government says, whatever everybody is trying to do, they have failed to stimulate production. Yeah. So the supply of all these items that we want is not there.
How can government stimulate? Let's first of all zero in on agriculture, for instance. How would they do it?
You have to fund agriculture directly. Give the farmers the seeds. I'm telling you, I'm now farming. But I find myself buying a lot of, actually spending a lot of money buying seeds, buying planting materials. I think Mr. Nsubuga is having a field day. I mean, selling planting materials.
Right.
You know. Now, if only this could be supplied by the government to the farmers. Of course, NADS has been trying, but it has not really reached very far, and it has been bedeviled with so many, problems, which we all know of, and it is not possible, therefore, for the farmers to really engage in double production, as we used to say. No, because we need substantial amount of input so that we can produce a lot.
But my contribution to that, my contribution to that is that we are all aware that 75% of our population actually are involved in agriculture on a daily basis.
Yes.
Take this, for example. How much percentage of this budget, of our national budget, do we contribute to agriculture? Of the 75+% of this country, is 2-3%?
Around about that.
No. Sorry. So let me just cut you short there. The percentage of the budget which goes into agriculture cannot be determined by only what goes into the Ministry of Agriculture.
Because they're cross-cutting.
There are certain cross-cutting, contributions to agriculture, like in health, like in transport, like, in many other areas.
There must be a point where you compare it from the core point.
Now, I remember one time we tried to advocate for a forensic audit on the total amount of money that goes into agriculture. Our Auditor General has not come out with that report, to the best of my knowledge. But I think if we look into all the expenditures that have some relationship or some impact on agriculture, it is much more than 3.4% which we know of. However, there is need to focus more on the specific items that constitute or that can stimulate agriculture. That's agricultural production. Okay. And they are talking about seeds, we're talking about planting materials, we're talking about insecticides, we're talking about tractors and fertilizers.
All right, let's try to look at, for instance, somebody you mentioned that NADS doesn't seem to have been a big success. Maybe do not have the structural roots to be able to thrive. In the past, we had agriculture extension workers. We do not have them anymore. We had the cooperative movement. Could the absence of these two have created a structural problem?
Of course, they really did. really big.
I think that's even the problem of nuts, because as I said, remember what I said initially, everything on paper is very good, but when it comes to implementation, it's different. What nuts is mandated to do on paper is actually not what they're doing exactly.
Yes.
They've come to be buying seeds and whatever. They're supposed to bring about to put up extension services to the farmers, go train farmers and things like that. But now they've come totally to be something else. And next thing I hear, they want also to be there trying to teach people how to commercialize and to entrepreneurship of farmers and things like that, which is exactly not their mandate. I think there's also some confusion in that as to why nuts is failing. Because had they stuck to their mandate, probably they would have succeeded better.
Of course, NADS was a part of the original plan for the modernization of agriculture.
Yes.
Do you think, instead of using stopgap measures, we did not have to reinvent that? We would have gone back to the old system, cooperatives, strong cooperatives around the country, silos, farmer groups, extension workers, district extension workers, and other people. Is that what you think we should have done?
Like it or not, we are going back there. Those who are working with farmers today, farmers are forming farmer groups.
Yes.
Call it what you want. Even on their own. They don't have a choice. That's the only way to get out of this.
To get back there, because there's no way you can leave farmers just in isolation like this.
And if you are going to talk about economic situations today, let's have it very clear. And to me, I've always said it, you cannot fail to avoid to talk about agriculture. No. It's our backbone.
Right.
Yes.
I'll give you an example. Coffee today.
Yes.
Before, but when I came back to this country in 1995, coffee was contributing close to 40%.
It was much more. It was 64%.
64%.
What's the percentage today? It's something 20-something.
Yeah.
But even then, it's still very big.
Right.
Okay. But I'll tell you, coffee, because of coffee wilt, the coffee wilt disease have reduced the production of coffee in this country from up to 20% from 64%. And I've been the chairman of the National Crop Resources Research Institute. Our scientists, we have the best agricultural scientists in this country. They've come up with with the varieties, coffee varieties.
Yes.
Listen to this.
Yes.
7 lines which are resistant to the coffee wilt.
Right.
And for the last 7, 8, 9 years, this material has been just there lying, and nobody can find them to multiply these coffees to give to farmers to bring the coffee back to where it was. Instead, we are spending so much money, left, right, and center. And had we multiplied this material to give it to farmers, coffee, I'm sure we could have gone back to 56% of the contribution of the country. And we wouldn't perhaps be in the situation we are in. If we had looked at the coffee and the ordinary farmers and distributed this clean planting material to the farmers, we wouldn't be here.
And of course, you mentioned 7 varieties. There was clonal coffee, which was developed during Idi Amin's time. At one time, they need only $10 million to spread it out across the country.
Exactly.
But $10 million couldn't be found. So again, it comes back to the political will.
Political will.
Consciousness, being aware of what...
will. We have failed in agriculture, and this is a very serious thing. We cannot do it all. We cannot, okay, we know we have good soil, we have rains, we have everything, but we cannot do it all. Unless we pinpoint one crop, which is nationally known, a flagship, which is coffee. Right. Concentrate on it. Let us be known worldwide to be big players in coffee industry. Right. That's when we can get out of it. But here and there, small things here and there in agriculture is not going to take us anywhere. And please, don't mix up food security through agriculture and cash crop. Please, we have to separate.
That's interesting. Of course, there's a lot of work to be done even on the cash crops. We produce a lot of tea, but none of it is branded. Much of it has to be branded at the Mombasa tea.
No, but you have also realized that coffee, for example, has got a parent body now here, an authority.
The coffee development for many years actually.
Coffee Development Authority. What are they doing to push ahead that kind of program?
Nothing.
They tried something. They sent people to China. Solomon Rutega went to China to spearhead an effort there.
To do what? To
brand Ugandan coffee.
To brand. That.
Okay, I mean, about 15 years. By now, we would have it literally the world over. It's probably still stuck in China.
We also have CDO for cotton.
Cotton, yes.
No? Cotton
still born. Cotton has not changed.
Yes. And I may tell you that in my part of the world, part of Uganda, that is Eastern, where cotton has been traditionally grown, farmers were constrained this time around, because the weather has been very good. farmers had to buy cotton seeds. And this never used to happen.
Yeah, the cotton government. And the government used
In
to
the past, they used to get
Yeah, I mean, government used to supply cotton seed.
No, but normally,
And that's
let me
the
take this opportunity.
Of course, it is a commercial
It's a problem of liberalization because the private ginners, they take the lint and they sell the cotton to the oil millers to make cooking oil out of it.
They take the seed.
I don't know. I have no facts on that.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to say that really there are certain products like coffee, like cotton, like tea, which have kind of parent bodies that should be able to stimulate their development, their growth, to the former levels. I mean, you used to have the marketing board. It was, of course, through privatization and so on, it was abandoned, it was killed. But there was a replacement CDO, which should actually be seeing to the welfare of the cotton farmers. I'm sure about come back to our former level, 400,000 bales.
445,000 bales, 1965-66.
400,000.
It was 465,000. That's
thousand. Can you imagine
bales in 1965-66?
Yes, 65. Now, I remember I was a board member of CDO at one time, and we had a paltry 35,000 bales, which was but it has grown. I mean, it has picked up, except needs stimulation by giving farmers free seeds.
Let's talk very briefly about cotton. Cotton has forward and backward linkages. It's got a very wide chart. We'll talk about Lint Marketing Board, but maybe skip that. Talk about Nitil, Nyanza Textile, which used to be the biggest textile mill in Eastern Central Africa. Right now, it's operating, I believe, at about 10% capacity. We are reporting our cloth.
But and of course, I mean, the excuse is that the economy is liberalized. People are bringing in secondary clothes and so on from other places, and the factories there can't cope.
Support for local industry.
Yes.
I'll tell you what, we don't have, somebody was talking about building up these industries and whatever. We will never have big industries. We will never have big industries. Even economies of India, the economies of America today are built on small and medium enterprises.
Yes.
I'm one of the people who fought through Presidential Investors Roundtable for establishment of a desk in Uganda Investment Authority for local small and medium enterprises, because I was thinking these big guys, especially our foreign brothers and sisters, the investors, they come to this country and they're now given 2-3 days, and whatever they need, licenses, bank contacts, everything is on their table. But what happens to this small man who has a good idea in Masaka, Bundibujo, or Gulu? Where does he go to get some finance? And he has a good innovation. So I was one of the people who pushed this. Unfortunately, it didn't come up very well. So if you talk of Nitil and all these companies which are trailing today, it's because there is lack of policy to support the local investors and innovators. To me, that's another point to look at. If we are to go out of this situation today, let's talk agriculture. Let's agree on that.
Right.
And secondly, let's talk about support of local innovations and local investors.
Right.
Give them support. Put conducive environment for banking, for trade, for marketing, and they will thrive. Second, and lastly, look at creation of jobs.
Right.
I can give you an example. I'm feeling so sad about these youngsters who many thousands of them finishing university today. Before we had one university of about just a few thousands of students. Today we have more than 40, whatever dozen of universities producing hundreds of thousands of graduates and no job creation. I wonder. I've been in this country back to Uganda as a grown-up now for the last 15 years. I've hardly had our parliament discussing about youngsters job creation in this country. Yes, it's very sad. So all that, how are they going to, how do you run economy? We're talking of economy today. But if we don't cater for all this, what we're talking about today, if we don't cater for our youngsters and discuss how to create jobs, if jobs are not there in the industries, get them be able, providing institutions which can mentor them for entrepreneurship. These technical institutions instead. Instead of producing, I'll give you an example. In agriculture, we are suffering. These students finishing university today from agriculture, from Faculty of Agriculture, they can't know almost nothing about agriculture. Because the institutions like Budama, which were before agriculture is practical and hands-on, were turned up into universities. So these guys are finishing universities and loitering on the streets. They can't even open up gardens themselves to sustain themselves, both economically and food security. So
maybe the form of education system.
The whole system. From farming, from agriculture, into education system. Into the support of SMEs. Without SMEs, no country has developed without the support of SMEs.
Honorable Oketcho, let's get back to the macros. You say the central bank is not doing it's not doing taking the right strategy, trying to zero in inflation. You can only have growth of about 6%. Right now, the projection is 5%. Inflation at 28%. How would you balance those?
Leave growth alone. But policies like raising the interest rate, automatically stifles production.
It does, yes, for a time.
Yes, it does. I mean, you cannot tell me that somebody is going to borrow money to increase the capacity of his enterprise at 28, 30, 40%.
Yes, 40%.
No, because the CBR has really been pushed to 24 something.
20%, yes.
I mean, about 20%.
Yes.
No.
Well, but the argument is that they need to stabilize the economy, because if you have high growth with high inflation, it really is eaten up.
What they should do is, I think, to find a way of stimulating production, not to stifle it through high money costs. You get it?
Yes.
That is really what I think is, and it will not match with the president's desire that, we have got to increase production.
Well, but you can increase production while managing inflation. You can help agriculture without necessarily letting inflation run through the roof.
Suppose I'm a farmer, a very good commercial farmer, and I need money to go, to borrow money to go and increase my production. How am I going to get it? At 28%, which the banks are now charging.
Yes.
It is difficult. So,
you can't.
There is no way you can do it. And of course, there is that inflation. That inflation is just as a result of what? Shortage of supply.
Right.
But let me say this also. The government, I said before, I had a chance of serving close to the ministerial whatever, the through presidential versus roundtable, and I learned one thing: there is goodwill.
Yes.
There is definitely goodwill from this government to improve things. But my problem has been implementation. You talk of something, after 3-6 months after that, you meet again and nothing. And they keep on lying and talking, I think, politicking, bureaucrats. Only once can we please stick on one thing and discuss it and agree. For example, coffee. If we pick on coffee, can we pick on coffee and look through the value chain throughout and make sure we come up with something? That is exactly the dilemma of this country.
No, but how do
we don't implement? And the president, I'm telling you, and the government per se, if you look at the manifesto, for example, if you look at the National Development Plan, you just wish these things could happen. But they are not happening.
No, but then how do we translate goodwill into actual, production, actual action?
We'll talk about that. We're going for that. Listeners, this is Spectrum on Radio 1. We'll be back to talk about the solutions. Do stay tuned.
Is your internet provider turning your world upside down? Broadband Company offers fast and reliable internet solutions. And for the first 100 subscribers this month, we offer zero connection fees. Save up to 400,000. For more information on these offers, call toll-free 0800 222 111. Broadband Company, more than you expect.
Maria!
Hey, Mom, what are you doing here?
I forgot to spread on the other slice, Maria. Take this.
Hey, Mrs. Makumbi, what are you doing here?
You know, Blue Band helps my child grow. That's why I spread on every slice.
Every slice spread with Blue Band is an opportunity for your child to grow. So mums, spread on every slice. Daily Blue Band, daily growth.
Just like an uncast diamond is brought to life by unmatched skill and dedication, only our brewmaster holds the secret to crafting a crystal malt lager. Under the exacting international standards that Nalbo raised, he uses only the finest, most carefully selected grains of roasted crystal malt and sets in motion the delicate process of releasing their full roast. The result is a world-class beer with a fresher aroma, a richer golden color, and a maltier taste.
Nile Gold Crystal Malt Lager. Beyond an ordinary malt.
Not for sale to persons under 18.
Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90 is brought to you by Stanbic Bank.
Welcome back on Spectrum tonight. The persistent poor economic situation in Uganda. How can we revamp the economy and make it sustainable? Our guests tonight, Honorable William Oketcho, former West Budama MP. Also, he was chairman of the Budget Committee at that time. Right now, he's chairman of the Ghana-based Africa Parlimentarians Poverty Reduction Network, based in Accra, Ghana. We also have Mr. Erastus Nsubuga, an innovator. He's now Chief Executive Officer of Agro-Genetic Technologies, that was part of the founding team of Celtel, the first mobile phone company, now called Airtel. You two will be able to call in and contribute to this discussion. Mr. Nsubuga, how do we get out of here? You've mentioned some of the issues, but if you were to move right now, press one button, to light many lights, which button would you press?
Fun as it may sound, get serious. Get down on the table and get serious. Stop. What do you say? Stop talking.
All right.
Implement. I hardly think we can do much better than what is in our national development plan.
We can do much better.
No, we can do better than that.
Right.
Only if we could implement
the NDP,
the plan like that. One, two. In this crisis, because maybe even if we develop